welcome back to my garage. This is Gamer Dom. I'm taking a look at the Chinese Tier 6 premium light tank, which is the Type 64, which is this little beastie. It's not as rare as some of the other tanks I've been looking at the last few days, but because you do see it quite a bit because it's in the shop, and it's a good little vehicle. It's a good crew trainer, it's a good credit generator. There's a lot of very good players of this tank, and you see it a lot in, if you do Tier 6 Stronghold, you'll often see players using it there. So it's a good vehicle. It's open topped, as you can see. Not that really matters because it's got no real armour, so open topped or what have you doesn't really matter. It's a light tank, and it's a pure light tank. It's not got an autoloader, it's just really survives on its speed, and it's got a pretty good gun, really. So let's have a look at it. It's only weighs about just under 25 tons, has a 500 horsepower engine, which means it's very, very speedy. 72 kph this vehicle. Traverse speed of 56 degrees a second, so it nips around, and that's this is the beauty of this tank. It's fast, it's nimble. You can sometimes get out of trouble when you're flying, when you're getting yourself into it. But you know, in terms of armor, 25 at the front, both hull and turret, 12 at side and side of both the hull and the turret. I just noticed as well the back of the turret is 19, which is interesting, and 12 for the turret, for the hull. So you know, basically you're going to get wrecked when you get hit. You're not going to bounce anything. It's not really even got a big mantle on the gun, so you've got no chance of bouncing anything. But its view range is very, very good. So the base view range of this tank is 390, which for a Tier 6 is very good. If you then, as I have, got binos on, that takes it over the 500 mark, which is actually further than you can actually view in World of Tanks. So I can't remember the number, I think it's 440 is the maximum view range of anything on the board. However, why having 500 is important is that as you go beyond, I describe this, so basically your chances of spotting are more improved at longer ranges if you go beyond, if you theoretically can view beyond the 440 yards, 440 meter viewing range. So a tank that could only see 440 will have quite a hard time seeing anything around 400. Percentage wise it's quite small. However, if you've got 500 viewing range, your possibility of spotting at 400 to 440 is considerably higher. So having a view range of 500 is really, really useful, and this thing spots really, really well, which is why it's such a popular tank as a stronghold tank, because as a pure scout it's a really pokey little thing. I run it with binos, as I say, because I tend to play as a passive scout, and camo net because it's really sneaky, it hides well, and that just gives you more of a chance of being able to hide. I use the gun rammer. Now, whether that makes sense to have a gun rammer or whether it would be better off having coated optics to get a benefit for when you're on the move, that's debatable. I like to have something that can help my rate of fire, and the rate of fire on this is very good, 18.18 rounds a minute. So that's pretty swift. It spits out shells at a fairly good rate, and the penetration on it isn't so bad either. 128 millimeters with a standard AP. You know, put that in perspective. You're a Tier 6 who's going to see at least a Tier 7 to Tier 9 match. So you know, 128 isn't much good when you're getting into a tier 8 and tier 9 game. However, you know, if you use it the way you should do, which is to scout and hide, you know, you're not really there initially to be firing, and then later on, then you can go. It's like all lights. You really want to stay alive as long as you possibly can in the game, because towards the end of the game, when there's a few sort of damaged tanks around, they haven't got as much close support as they had in the early games. You can pounce, and that's when a light tank comes into its own, and that's when the pen hat is useful, and the rate of fire is really useful. So 128 is fine if you're getting to the flanks and rears of some of these bigger, higher tier tanks. 177 for APCR. It uses APCR, which is great, nice and fast flying shell, easy for me to say. And 38 on HE. I carry 3 rounds of HE just purely for reset purposes, because 38 isn't going to do much. So yeah. And in terms of damage, 115 for the standard round and the APCR. So your alpha's not huge, but you know, firing 18 rounds a minute at 115 damage is pretty good. Aiming time 2.1. Which is fine if you can aim properly with it. It will do well, but you know, often with light tanks you're firing on the move, and then that aim time isn't great. So you know, but you know, it is what it is, and you can cope with that. So it's a good little tank. I've got 1 star on it, and that was from previous crew. So I'm now retraining or training up my WZ132 crew in it, because I sold the 132 a little while ago when I bought the WZ120, and put my all-girl crew in that one. And you know, I love the WZ120. It's a good fun tank. My record in it isn't fantastic, but I enjoy playing it. But at the time I thought, shall I hold on? I had the WZ131, which I also love as a scout light tank. It's kind of a good looking tank, isn't it? Anyway, and I thought, do I need the 132? I needed the credits, so I sold it. I then instantly regretted selling it. So I'm waiting for Wargaming to do some kind of deal, 50% off, 25% off, whatever, on tier 8s, and then I'll rebuy the WZ. And in the meantime, I'm using this really good little light tank to retrain or to train up my WZ132 crew, so that they're ready for when the 132 comes back in the garage. And you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the reason for getting a premium tank is to train your crew up, and also to earn extra credits and extra experience, because they get a premium. The premiums get a premium amount of both when they're played. Now, one thing to note, which is a bit frustrating, is that the Type 64 has a 5-person crew. I should say person because I had it all girl before. So you have to get a radio operator, which is really frustrating because pretty much every other tank on the light and medium line is a 4-man crew. Yeah, 4. So even on the mediums, I think they're 4s. Yeah, 4. Now they're 5. So that's the Type 58 is the 5-man crew. So if you've been running down the light line on the Chinese tanks, they're all 4-man crews, and then you have to go back and put an extra man in the as the radio operator in this Type 64, which is slightly galling and slightly annoying, but it is what it is. So there you go. So that's a nice little tank. So let's go and take it out and see what we can do on the battlefield. So you know that lovely feeling when you open up the game and you start the game and you look at your team and you go, oh my goodness, what am I going to do here? Well, this is kind of what I was presented with in this battle. you know, XVM has a lot to answer for, but one of the things it is very useful for, I think, is the ability to look at your team and their team and see who are the best players and who are the worst players. However, you know, a lot of people look at teams, their friendly teams, and open it up and go, right, that's a load of rubbish, and just throw their lives away stupidly. So I try not to. I try to play the same way whether or not it's a good team or a bad team, but you can see we've got an awful lot of low 40 type players. So anyway, I'm in the Type 64, so that's a light scouty tank, so it's a not bad matchup actually, a 2-7 game, so you don't get that very often. So I'm going to head down to the river, and there's a nice bush down here, which if you get in, you can spot the enemy as they come down the 1-2 line. So that's what I'm doing, rushing ahead, hoping that I get some support and some people above me to sort of do some spotting, or to take advantage of my spotting. So I get in here and put up my binos, and the camo kicks in, which is great. And then I notice that we've got a 12T and an A43 coming up behind me, and they're going to draw all the fire by the look of it. So there's one spot. I don't have a shot because my friend next to me is firing, and he's just taken my place, blocking everything. He is taking a lot of hits, which is good because they're not hitting me, which is kind of good. But we did draw the arty in, so you know, I was a bit lucky there that I was pulling back, else I probably would have got that arty shell right in the kisser. So the 12T is getting hit. I just decided to take a risk there and let my tracks repair themselves. And I think I've just had enough of this at this moment, because those guys there in the river were just causing all kinds of grief. You know, one of the things I think most often newer players don't get is that when you fire, you reveal yourself. You know, you show your camo disappears, and so there's no good hiding in a bush in the open if you then fire. There's the bird. First shot misses, which is a bit rubbish. Then I do auto aim, and he's just a dead man walking. So he's gone. Then come round, and the LC's not paying attention, so he's the next one to bite the dust. And I'm thinking, right, what do I do now? There's a VK up there on the hill. He's looking at me. Don't do anything to him. I'm just critical by the look of it. Keep moving, because remember there are still 2 RT left. But the A43 actually does me another favour here. I was complaining about him, but he gets up in front. Mind you, the VK decided to have a go for me, so not that. So here we go. So we've cleared out that. We've got an E25 behind us though, somewhere up there on the was last seen B2 area. And I'm thinking, what do I do? So I think, well, I'm going to head back. Sometimes you can get some little shots at the back of the guys, of the heavies going into the city. Our heavies in the city look like they're having a bit of a workover. And then I go, wow, what's this what's this Japanese tiger doing here? And this is kind of one of those situations when you're in a light tank and it's kind of fun, because you're thinking, I've got a heavy here and there's plenty of room to go round him. Artie's just landed a shell on him. I've got auto lock on, and I'm just trying to use my speed to get round to his flank and his side, his flank and his rear, and there we go, that's what I did. I have changed to premium because I wanted to make sure of the kills. So he's dead, and now I'm looking up at that map and thinking 11-8. They've got an OI, they've got all their heavies are still in the city. They are slow moving. We haven't got an awful lot in there, and I'm not sure we're going to survive that. So I'm going to make a move and try and clean out the RT and maybe cap it out. So that's what I do. So M44 is quite dangerous in shotgun mode, but he wafts his shot when I'm sort of moving up the slope. Again, next RT sitting there. Don't think he's even paying attention, this guy. Maybe he's just given up, I don't know, or whatever. He's dead meat, frankly. unless he gets very lucky. So that's the 3 arty dead. And if you look in the town, we've still got 3 tanks down there, but and just the OI left. But the OI is a really strong tank, particularly against the sort of tier 6s and 7s. So there you go, he's just killed the Burt. That's weird, I've just noticed there's a funny bug there. When I was looking at this game, when I was playing this game, it appeared that there were 2 enemy tanks in the city, but now looking at it there seems to be only 1. So anyway, whatever. So I decide that I'm just going to sit here. I'm rather cheeky saying in the chat I've done my bit, and I think I had. I knew that the OI was going to struggle to get back up into the city, up into the cap. He wasn't going to get to our cap in time, so I just thought, right, we'll just play out the invader here. 1700 damage in a light tank, 4 kills, an invader. I'll take that any day. So yeah, so that was my game in this, and it's, as I say, one of the things I would say. I get very frustrated when people just sort of start mouthing off at the beginning of a game about how bad the team is, and I'm guilty of it sometimes. Thinking about it myself. In fact, in this game, I did say, "Wow, what a team" or something. But just because even I think it's Jingles who says even bad players can play well sometimes, and it's true. Sometimes you can be surprised, and it's amazing how many times a good team, supposedly good team, gets cocky when they think they've got an easy win. I don't think that happened here. We just managed to hold them in the city long enough for me to take advantage of it. So anyway, good game. We'll have a look at the stats now. Okay, let's have a look at the post-game stats. First class mastery badge, bruiser, and Demolition Expert. Always love Demolition Expert, always fun when you get an ammo rack basically on the enemy tanks. Various other ribbons here, but this one's a good one. You don't see that often. Pescucci medal, and that you get for destroying 3 artillery pieces in one game, 3 or more, I believe. So yeah, obviously I cleaned up on the artillery, so that's always a fun one for those of us that love being hit by arty. And the invader, of course, because I sat in the base and got all the capture points at the end of that game. So if we look at the team score, first on experience, actually second on damage, but I guess that's sort of weighted for the fact that I obviously took out 3 artillery pieces, so that's a large proportion of that damage is there. 1000 experience, which is rather handy. Well played to this enemy OI. Sorry mate, you were stuck in the village or the town, and I wasn't coming anywhere near you. You killed me too easily, so hats off to him for a good game, but not good enough. Looking at the individual stats, we fired 27 shots, 19 hits, 16 penetrations, and I guess that proportion's about normal for a light tank, because towards the end of the game you're moving a lot. Firing on the move is much less accurate than placing your shots properly, so that's what you roughly expect. I took 2 hits, both of which penetrated. Again, you're in a light tank, so when you get hit you're going to get penetrated. So not much sputting damage because those guys came down right at the beginning and sort of pushed me out of that bush effectively, so I couldn't really do much of my real job, but made up for it with the 1700 damage and the 4 kills. So in terms of credits, 32,000 profit, which is rather nice in a tier 6 tank, and experience wise, you can see nearly 500 extra experience because it's a premium vehicle, total because there was a double of 3,700 XP, which is obviously going on my WZ132 crew who are in this tank for when I rebuy that tank 132 again, hopefully when they do some half price deals or some reductions anyway. So all in all, good game. I like the Type 64. you can see, this was a pretty good game, I think, and I only got a first class honours. It just shows how many people play this tank really well, because to get an ace mastery ace tanker, it's really hard. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. This is Gamer Don. Please, if you get a chance, click on the like button, and ideally also subscribe, because it's great to get the feedback and to know that people are watching these and enjoying them. So and as I always say, if you've got any comments, any feedback, please let me know. I'm trying to improve the reviews as I go along. Really welcome any kind of feedback. But anyway, I will see you again, and good luck out there on the battlefield.